Covering 3/4 of the continent of Australia, with 90% of the land unpopulated, the outback is one of the most sparse and rugged landscapes on Earth. From Darwin, I travelled through Kakadu National Park to Katherine, onto Cloncurry in Queensland, and back to Alice Springs. Then I travelled the Tanami Track to Western Australia, to the coastal towns of Broome and Cape Leveque. I end my journey in the remote Kimberleys. Darwin, it's the capital of the Northern Territory. It's got a history of devastating cyclones. The last one to hit was in 1974, and the whole town was completely flattened. But now, it's been completely rebuilt. And for travellers, it's the gateway to the outback of Australia. In fact, it's all geared up for backpackers, and even in some bars, you buy a beer, you get a free meal. Good way to see the outback is to come to this backpackers car market, buy yourself a little bargain, then you can just cruise around at your leisure. And if there's anything left of the car by the end, you can come here and try and resell it. Quicker the better.
Everybody says in Sydney, when we bought the car up there, say, oh, no problem, Darwin, some Aboriginal, some local will buy it. No problem.
That's what they said, but then we arrive here and we see that there are more cars than people in this town.
Yeah. How many months have you been travelling in this, three of you?
2.5. Yep, driven from Townsville across to Alice Springs.
How many miles is that?
10,000.
10,000 miles. In Darwin, you get some of the best hostels. This is one of them. It's called Elkies Hostel. That's Elkies, not Alkies. And for a night, it costs $14. And with that, you get breakfast, a main meal, and the luxury of a swimming pool.
The hostels you stay in are great. They're so helpful. They organise trips and they help you find work.
It's a really good place to meet the backpackers, a really good place to meet other people, to go travelling with other people. If you're travelling on your own, it's good. You can get cheap transport to places, you can buy things, you can sell things. It's basically just like where everybody comes to meet.
Well, this is my room. Nice and simple and basic. Just like being a kid. Bunk beds. Oh! All right, guys. No bottom burps tonight, please. Oh, you know what I mean. Yeah, that's me. Just rice and.
Anything else?
No, I'm going to put my own. What else have you got then?
Chili, nice. And what you like?
This is peanut sauce, yeah?
Peanut sauce, yeah.
Yeah, no, I'll chuck some on.
You say that.
Yeah, thanks. This is Darwin Sunset Market. It's got loads of bargains. But the best thing about it, because it's so close to Asia, it's got lots and lots of lovely food. I've got to show you this. I cracked so early on in my journey, I had to get it over and done with. What's nice about the market is just by the sea. But what's not nice about the sea is you can't go in it. 6 months of the year is full of stinging jellyfish. The other 6 is full of crocodiles. If they ever have a day off, then the sharks will get you. So all you can really do is paddle up to your knees and then you get stung by jellyfish anyway, so it's always good. 7 o'clock in the morning. We're on the way to Kakadu National Park. It's easy to get there because there's lots of tours like this, but you need a good guide because it can be wild out there. And this is my main man, professional bushman, John Wayne.
All right, John? Mate. Nice to meet you.
West or east, which way are you going?
In the back, mate, in the back.
My first journey takes me out of Darwin, through Kakadu National Park and down to Katherine, in time for the Burunga Aboriginal Festival. So is it dangerous out there? Have you lost anyone on your tours?
I've never lost anyone yet, but it is a dangerous place to go running around if you haven't got any local knowledge. There's plenty around that can kill you. Yeah. There's a lot of wild animals out there. The Irish are here and everything.
Kakadu is a huge national park stretching 8,500 square miles. It's best to come here in the dry season between April and October, and especially in July and August, when the wildlife is most visible.
Hopefully find us some lizards and snakes along the way you can have a bit of a close look at and check a few things out along the way, you know.
This is the Adelaide River, and around here is the most fearsome creature in the whole of Australia. It's carnivorous and it hasn't evolved for 190 million years. The Australian male. Also you get crocodiles in here somewhere. Oh look, there's one down there. What is this, a crocodile or alligator?
Maybe just a saltwater crocodile.
Yeah.
Crocodilus peraceus.
Well, it's got disease or something.
No, not at all. No, that's just his scientific name.
Ah,
What he actually does is when he bites you, he puts you in a death roll, it's called. He'll grab onto you and roll you over and over and over again till you actually drown. This one's not very jumpy.
that's death roll.
You try this, Ian. Here, try this.
Oh, yes, please.
Yeah, all you do is keep it about a foot above his head.
Yeah. Apparently a crocodile can outrun a racehorse. Also, if it's chasing you, you've got to veer to the right or left because they only go in a straight line. Look, he's looking right at me.
The top jaw.
Oh! You distracted me there. As well as being home to countless species of wildlife, Kakadu has a wide variety of landscapes, from desert to wetlands. I'm in the heart of Kakadu National Park, and it is so massive that you could slot the country of Wales into it. Also, it's where Crocodile Dundee was filmed, so some places are really touristy, but others like this are nice, quiet and serene.
When you come to Kakadu, you need to come to Jim Jim's. It's probably the best place to come.
Sensational place.
You know, people.
It's an easy walk up here.
Clean water.
It's a nice place, very nice place.
You know that thing I said about the crocodiles and the waters being infested? Well, it's so hot that sometimes you've just got to live on the edge. Get away from me! Get away!
If you want to go on the tour, you've basically got to check how many people are going, who you're going with, and where you're going to visit. Because you don't want to be stuck on a tour for 3 days with people you don't get along with. And also, if there's too many people, it sort of destroys the whole effect of being in the middle of paradise.
Stop by the roadside just to pick up this snake, save it from getting run over, because that's what happens here. This is a black-headed python.
That's the one.
Crushes you to death in 2 minutes. I'm feeling quite comfortable with this one. Yeah, look, you're not getting away from it. Come and have a sniff at this. Oh, where are you going? 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 I mean, if I've got to do this, you can. There we go. If you're visiting Catherine in June, you can catch the annual Burunga Festival. This is Burunga. It's the biggest Aboriginal festival for sports and culture in the whole of Australia. And here goes. Whoa! I think I'll leave it to the professionals. Aboriginal communities from all over the outback get together in Burunga to fight it out on the sports field. This is Aussie Rules. It's Australia's national sport. When I've seen it, there'd be no rules at all. It's just been that. It's just been that. Right, so what is this game about? All I've seen is just fights, punch-ups, and that. There weren't even a ball when I was watching it.
Don't throw the ball. You got to hand pass it.
Yeah. You got to be big,
oh, you
strong
don't have
and
to be
fit.
Big. Not really.
So I could do it, yeah?
Yep, you can do it.
Oh, I better do it. Oh, here we go. It's mine. Did I get that? If I'm going to buy one thing in Australia, it's got to be a didgeridoo. It's got to be the real thing, made by the Aboriginal people. Yeah, let's test this one out there. Okay. This is James, he's my didgeridoo tester.
No worries.
Yeah? Is that any good?
Yep.
Yeah?
She's good.
How do you play it then? You trust this is good, yeah?
Yep.
It's a good one. It's just going to be a problem to get back, really. But nah, we'll buy it any... Oh, I'll get it anyway, yeah? Well, I've heard of flying doctors that go around saving lives. I've just hitched a lift with a flying padre, goes around saving souls. Sorry about that, Lip. You know when you buy something and at the time it seems like a really good idea, and then you realise you've got to cart it round and all your travels and it's a pain in your...
I travel around those on Sundays in rotation and conduct services of worship. Sometimes I conduct services of worship on the stations, and out on the stations I baptise children, I marry people, and I bury people. Match, and dispatch.
How high up can you spot a sinner from?
How high up can I what?
How high up in the air can you spot a sinner from?
Spot
a sinner. You swoop down on him. There's one there, look. Go on, let's get him.
Yeah, okay. It took me a while to catch that.
I just had visions of you, like, dropping holy water like crops playing. The Flying Padre, Len, was heading into the state of Queensland, to the town of Cloncurry, where another bush festival was taking place. That's where I'm heading, the small town of Cloncurry. And it's where Burke and Wills, the most famous Australian explorers, passed through in 1860 in their bid to cross the outback. They were well equipped, but they didn't have an Aboriginal guide. And what was worse is they got that far to the coast, but there was a ridge in the way, so they couldn't see the sea. So in desperation, they tried to get back. And it was here where they were last seen alive, and their bodies were never found. Cloncurry used to have one of the world's largest copper mines, but now it's just a small outback town, serving the surrounding cattle stations. This is Cloncurry Bush Festival. They celebrate it every year on the Queen of England's birthday. The main event, out of all the events here, is bush poetry, but that happens back in town. Hi there.
Hi.
Got your poetry ready?
Yeah, sure have.
I'm going to enter this year. I've got a few poems of my own that I might tease you with.
Yeah, good on you, mate.
Bush poetry was created by drovers in the last century as a way of telling stories about outback life.
When I leave, I'll go happy, just knowing we've met. My happiness tinged with a hint of regret.
He'll watch me like he used to, from a better place maybe.
Another hardened artery in our shrinking outback town.
Now he waits to die in an old people's home.
But what was that steaming thing on the ground beside her? It's not working, I'm not getting anywhere with this one. This is a bush poetry competition, and this is Mark. He's an old hand at it, so he's going to help me read a poem because I've got to get up there later. Nobody told me it was wild out here.
Evil. and brown don't seem to go together, do they?
Deadly shade of brown.
Puce? Deadly shade of puce?
Puce don't like with town though.
No, it was with Bruce and Goose.
It was harmless, mate. They laughed. As it slithered away. I got to go up and say this then.
Yes, yes. That could be a nice colour. Black rhymes with track.
Comes from London town. I won't be able to say it, so keep it simple. Not that I don't do long words now and again.
Move in, please. We're getting underway.
Is that it, yeah?
I think so. That's
Right,
about it.
I better read it through.
Thank you.
Hi there. From London town back in England, and I'm a virgin poet, so you've got to be gentle with me tonight, alright? First time I've done any of this. Sorry I was late, but I was bitten by a snake. Nobody told me it was wild out here. Yes, there's only one cure for snake bite, when you're bitten on the bum, and you get it in a big glass bottle, and it's called Bundy rum. Thank you. You know when you've sort of been invited to something, you really don't want to go, but it's a small town, what can you do? You can't get out of it. So, I'm off roo hunting now, but out here it's legal. These guys get paid by the farmers to get rid of them because they're a pest. Hi guys! How you going? Alright?
Alan.
Right. So you're shooting and you're driving, yeah?
Yeah.
Right, okay. Should we go then?
Yeah, right out.
Catch them roos early.
No worries.
Not much of a roo hunter myself, but we'll see. Apparently, there's just as many kangaroos out here than there is people, and they eat the crops and knock fences down, so they have to be culled. Some people kill them just for fun. Right, laugh. But at least these people kill them and use every bit of the kangaroo, so it's like a business. So there's one out there.
Yeah, but a little bit small, eh?
Alright. How much is a kangaroo?
$10.50 for the large and $5.50 for the medium.
Right. Medium and larger.
Yeah.
What's the light for? When they see the light, don't they all run off?
No, see, they've got very weak eyes of the night.
Yeah.
That's why you hardly see kangaroos of the day because of the sunlight. And once you hit them with the spotlight, they'll slow down and stop.
So it blinds them?
Yeah.
Right. So you can't miss, really, yeah?
Yeah. Looks like we might have something over here. That's a headshot. You hear the clunk? With the big fellas, they can make purses, handbags, and with the testicles here, a lot of companies they make tobacco pouches and small purses and like small wallets. A lot of them will keep them too to make them, but I don't know about the claws. You can dry them out and use it for back scratching. That'll right on his head.
Not much of a day out. One day, roos will fight back. My next journey takes me into the Northern Territory to Alice Springs. From there, it's just a day trip out to Uluru, better known as Ayers Rock. Alice Springs is the Outback's biggest and most isolated town. 1/3 of its population of 27,000 is Aboriginal.
It's very difficult for travelers to see Aboriginal people and the Aboriginal culture. You only can see a touristic show at the hotel, and it's not the real culture you want to see.
Many Aboriginals still live in appalling conditions, and alcohol and drug abuse are widespread. A good reason to come to Alice Springs is for the Aboriginal art. There's about 40 different galleries in town. A lot of them, though, are run by white people, but at last I've actually found one that is owned and run by Aboriginals. So how does centres like this help change that ignorance about Aboriginal culture?
I think basically the physical contact with an Aboriginal person, because those people that are ignorant have never met an Aboriginal person before. So their ignorance is based upon what they read in the newspaper, or what they see on TV, or what they hear on the radio. And we've created an environment that is a friendly environment. And I think that will go a long way towards at least answering a few of their questions and maybe putting to rest that probably sense of ignorance that they may have.
Has there been a lot of prejudice here in Alice Springs?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's fantastic. Prejudice is well and truly alive. Racism is never going to die. But we can control it just by being proud of ourselves, having a lot of self-esteem and having economic independence. Racism is always going to be around, but I think that it doesn't really worry Aboriginal people that much because they live with it all their lives.
Yeah. Most Aboriginal paintings have quite complex stories. This is a person, but as a woman you can tell because she's got a digging stick and a fruit bowl. They're probably sitting around a campsite or something. They're after a man, and they've spied one down here. You can tell it's a man because of the hunting stick. They've sneaked up on him, knocked him on the head, then dragged him away, and this is him lying down here. This is the rude bit, because that's where they have their wicked way with him. And then the one big happy family. This is brilliant, check this out. I saw it, I had to buy it. Remember I was in Jim Falls swimming around, I thought there's no crocodiles. Well, crocodiles, Cakadoos, big falls closed. 4 metre salty seen in Jim Creek. Scary. "200 miles west of Alice Springs, you can experience working life in the bush." I'm on Delmore Downs cattle station. It's in the middle of nowhere. Nearest town, it's 4 hours drive away, which is Alice Springs. Because it's so remote, they're always looking for spare hands on the station. Get a bit more money. Trouble is, it's only work for it. So how did you actually find out about this station?
So I opened the paper and there was an advert to governess on a Northern Territory property. It happened overnight, like Don just said, can you come tomorrow? And if you had said, can you come next week, I wouldn't have come.
Really?
No, I would have had too long to think about it.
So have you learned lots of new skills?
Oh, heaps. I've never really ridden a motorbike before, so I had to learn to ride a motorbike.
How long do you think I'd last out here?
Just a wuss. You wouldn't last out here, would you?
What's wuss?
A little weakling.
Come on, let's go over to that barrel now. Come on. This will be my main job. This is cattle mustering. And this station is 300,000 acres, and that's a medium one. So this is the best way to do it. Come on. If you want to work on a cattle station, look for adverts in the local newspaper, but be prepared to work your butt off. That's the first day of my training over. Oh, a city boy. Oh. The best way to wake up in the morning is ballooning over Alice Springs. I know it's a bit of a luxury, I'm a bit of a cocky git, but it's the way to travel. About 300 miles southwest of Alice is Australia's most famous natural landmark. Behind me, is one of the most sacred sites to the Aboriginal people in Central Australia, and there's evidence to show that it's been that way for 80,000 years. Most people know it as Ayers Rock, but in recent years they've changed it to its original name, Uluru. Uluru was home to the Anangu Aboriginals for thousands of years, but there are only a few communities left as it has become a major tourist attraction. Because this is such a sacred site for the Aboriginal people, they'd never climb it. And actually, if it is climbed, it's a bit of an insult because they feel responsible for people on the mountain. In fact, 29 people have died trying to do so. But if you want to climb, don't worry about it, just get up there. There's a fence and there's the steps. Me personally, I'm going to enjoy it from the ground.
The way that Uluru is marketed is really the climb is the highlight of the whole trip.
The Aboriginal people think that tourists walking up the rock, they can't understand why we want to do that, and they think that the tourists look like ants walking up the rock.
I think it's disgusting the way people can just clamber up there in the path of old spiritual leaders from the Aboriginal tribes.
20 miles from Uluru are more giant rocks, known as the Olgas. They are another sacred Aboriginal site. This is Reggie, this is Karina, and they're members of the Uluru family that has been living around here for thousands and thousands of years, and caused by their name. They're a very important family in this area. What's going on here?
Kitty.
Glue.
Glue.
Glue. Making glue?
Yeah, making glue.
So, Reggie must have seen a lot of change in your life, sort of like tourism and people coming into it. How's that affected the culture, do you think?
It's nice with lots of visitors coming in here, but I miss a lot of those old days, the quietness, the time I had with my father, and just moving through the land, learning the skills. Because these are skills we've carried with us for thousands of years. We never lose them because there's only one law to them, and that's the law that we take in and we then pass on.
Are there important lessons that we could learn from, like, Aboriginal culture?
It's so important to teach people about how important the land is, and it's through spending time and being out in the bush that we learn about that strong connection we have to the land. It gives us so much, therefore we must respect it in return.
This is the Tanami track, 1,000 kilometres of dirt road going through some of the most isolated spots in the whole of Australia and the Tanami Desert. If you're going to do the drive, you've got to be serious about it because it can be potentially dangerous. You need a radio linked up to the flying doctors, you need a good 4x4 truck, all your water, all your food, extra fuel, and most important of all, this, because in your morning, your breath is disgusting. Hit it! The 600-mile Tanami track cuts right through the sparse desert, linking Alice Springs and Halls Creek in Western Australia. It's advisable not to wander around the bush on your own. Always go with someone else, and especially someone that knows what they're doing. This is Andy, and he knows what he's doing in the bush. Isn't that right, Anne?
Yeah, matey.
What's that bush there?
It's Minifex grass.
Minifex grass? There you go.
When you go out to these areas, you really have to be self-sufficient and self-contained because you really are on your own.
So what would be the most important things to do in preparation on going on a trip like this?
The most important thing when you're coming out to outback Australia and remote parts of Australia is you really have to be prepared before you actually go out there. It's a good idea to register with the police or at least let somebody know that you're going out to outback Australia. The police will then inform your destination, where you're going.
just stopped because this geezer one he's broke down. So I helped him out, and now he's going to repay us with a bit of bush tucker. What are you looking for, Wayne?
Looking for the wizardy grub.
Wizardy grub?
Yeah. So sometimes we eat raw, or sometimes we cook it, you know?
You usually share it, yeah?
Yeah. You can try to, or...
Is that yellow stuff? You got to eat that?
Yeah, you can eat it too. That's good stuff.
Widgety grubs have been eaten by Aboriginals for thousands of years.
Yeah.
It's very high in protein. Well, it's the end of the day, and that's when the real work begins. Setting up camp, but first, it's a campfire. That's brilliant, this grass stuff, isn't it? It's kangaroo tail. That's what we're having. Did you just put them on the fire?
Yeah, you want to burn the fur off, mate.
Yeah?
Yeah.
What you do, you get your kangaroo tail, that's about medium size. When it's a bit charred like that, get the fur off, put it on some hot coals over there, and then put lots of other coals on there, and that should heat it up and cook it inside there. Obviously, if you want it rare, you just sprinkle it on. If you want it hot on that bit, then you put loads on there. Don't want it on till you run off into that direction there. I'll just get tucked into this, shall I? How do I eat it?
All right, mate. I'll just show you this. It's got a lot of...
Is there a lot of meat on there?
Yeah.
It's not what you said earlier.
Yeah.
Right, this is it, yeah? Here we go. Kangaroo tail.
What do you reckon?
Yeah, it's all right, isn't it? Bit gritty, but I think that's my hands. Is there a supermarket close? To cross the Tanami track in a four-wheel drive will take about 3 days. How long do you reckon it'd last in like the height of summer out here?
You're going to need at least a good litre of water per hour. It's about 40, 50 degrees out here in summer, so I'd give you about 9 hours without any water.
9 hours? Got to be one of the remotest petrol stations and bars in the whole of Oz. It's called Rabbit Flat because it's in the middle of nowhere. Petrol costs loads of money. When's the sale on, Bruce? Petrol sale.
I can double it. Soon you got an English accent.
How long have you been out here?
28 years.
28 years.
Doesn't it show?
God. Check these wrinkles out there. That says 1, 2, 3, 4. Does it get a bit lonely out here?
No. If you like the outback, it doesn't worry you. And my wife's the same, and she comes from bloody Paris. I had 4 years in Perth, down WA, and I've never felt so lonely in all my life.
Yeah.
And I think that if you're not fitting into an urban environment, you can be probably more lonely in a city situation than what you can in the outback.
How much do I owe you?
Actually, seeing you got a nice British accent, we're letting you win the cricket. I'll treble the top.
Is that right?
So
you're still hurting over the cricket?
You know we lost the first test.
Did you? Oh.
You didn't know.
I might have. Yeah, you did lose, didn't you?
Yeah, that's right. Just a bit.
Is it still hurting? Where's it hurt? Is it... Oh,
that's my money belt. Leave me money belt alone.
All right, I'll see you later then.
Yeah, right, mate.
The Tanami track passes through some of Australia's least populated country. Is there a service station up here, sir? Is there? This is Wolf Creek Crater. It was formed about 2 million years ago when a big meteorite came down and smashed it. It was about the second largest of its kind in the world. It was found about 50 years ago by the white man, but of course the Aboriginal people knew all about it for thousands of years. What I really want to do is camp right in the middle of there. It'd be fun, but because it's like a national park, it's a bit of a no-no, so I'll go elsewhere. You're comfy there. Yours is electric, isn't it? God, here you are. This is the best hotel in Australia. And it's the cheapest. Oh, lovely. Tell us a story, Anne. Go on. Because you hardly see any traffic on this road. What's quite nice is when you do see a car, everybody waves to each other. There's different kinds of waves too. The sort of old sort of reserve one is just one finger off the steering wheel. And the second one, if you're feeling a bit more daring, it's all the hands, but hands still on the steering wheel. But if someone you know, then it's a full-blown, what? Beep, 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 beep. Is that right, isn't it? Travelling from Alice, it'll take you about 2 days to get to the Western Australian border.
We've just arrived at a mobile quarantine checkpoint. And I must ask you, are you carrying any of those items, please?
Frilly knickers, fruit, honey, animals, soil, just fruit, and that's about it.
Yes, fruit and vegetables, probably what you usually
Why is this
carry.
then?
Well, we're trying to prevent the introduction of fruit flies and other diseases coming into Western Australia.
So do you want to take all this then?
Yes, that has to go, sir.
And how long will you have to stay out here for?
28 days at a time.
28 days?
That's
Just,
right.
am I the first car you've seen?
Oh, yeah, for the first one today, perhaps?
Do you take bribes?
No bribes, sir.
Come on,
I'm afraid so.
let
Not
the
me,
apples
mate.
through. There's a couple.
No,
Come on, you know you
I
want
don't
them.
even like them.
No, look at that. All right, cheers a lot then.
You're welcome.
See you later.
Bye.
Right. Lovely. This is Sawpit Gorge. Great place to end up after Tanami track. It feels like I've got half the desert caked onto my body. And the best way to get rid of it is a hot bath shower in your room, not a freezing cold pool like this. Ready?
Go for it, mate.
Ah! Oh! Mama! Oh yeah! I'm alive! I'm alive! Woo! I'm dead! From Halls Creek is another 400 miles west to Broome and nearby Cape Leveque. Broome is a welcoming change from the surrounding desert. Travellers are attracted here by sun and surf, putting it well and truly on the tourist map. I'm in Broome at the moment, which is the backpacker's haven. Just walked into this hostel and didn't have a chance to unpack yet. So I've been involved with a heavy game of volleyball. Oh, Sam was winning.
Broome's just like the place to stop. I've heard so many people rave so much about it.
Yeah, really chilled out. Even locals I met when I was in Kalgoorlie said go to Broome, it's just fantastic.
Broome was originally Australia's largest pearling port, supplying 80% of the world's mother of pearl. South of Broome, deserted beaches stretch for hundreds of miles. Locals call this the staircase to the moon. During a full moon, light reflects on the mudflats, giving the illusion of a staircase. Spent my first night in Cape Leveque. I was quite lucky to find somewhere to stay last night, because it's so remote. There's not many places like this on the beach. Anyway, I'm meeting someone soon, so I can't stay around and chat. The area around Cape Leveque is home to Aboriginals known as the Bardi people. We're off crabbing at the moment. This is Vince, chief crabber. But it's not like down in Brighton with a little bit of string and bacon. They're about that big. These ones are supposed to be massive. They're really good to eat, yeah?
Yes, they're really good.
I've done this before.
There's one there.
Where? How can you see? There's one in there.
Yeah. There you go, see?
Oh, no, the size of that. Was that a big one?
Yeah. So all you do is just put your hook inside like this, inside it. Elbow, hook it up.
Yeah.
I'll let you do that. Set up now like this.
Oh, man.
Don't put your finger. If you get hold of it, you'll lose your finger.
Will I?
Yeah. That's how you hold it. Just hold it. And then,
You're putting towards me deliberately.
no.
I know what you're going
There you go.
Yeah, all right. Crab man. Crab brothers. Now what do I do with it? Take it off me.
There you go.
Don't mess me about.
Oh shit.
Oh, that's broken. Once we caught a few more crabs, Vince treated me to a bit of home cooking.
It tastes like red.
Wow, that's good, isn't it? Just hitched a lift. A local mail service. This is Greg the pilot, and he's gonna take me all the way to Kununurra. Oh. Final leg of my journey takes me into the Kimberleys, to Kununurra, and then back into the desert. Just outside the town of Kununurra. It's a great place to get casual work for backpackers. Most of it's in the fields. I'm finishing now because I've got a job in town. See you later.
Kununurra is a good place to camp because there's plenty of work. There's always lots of agricultural work, farm work, so picking, packing, that kind of thing.
In season, there's a lot of work. There's all the melons come in season at the same time. So they're crying out for people basically here. You're going to be working out in the field all day. It's best to bring lots and lots of water with you, and definitely wear a hat. I mean, I've had sunstroke since I've been out here, and I was really ill. I missed out on an afternoon's work because of it. So
I'm on the way to a massive bachelors and spinsters party. I've been ill for 3 days, so I'm really looking forward to it. Apparently, it's either the scariest night of your life or it's the best night. People only go for two things: to get totally off your face or rumpy pumpy. I'm working there as a barman, so obviously I won't be indulging, and I'm professional.
Australia's such a young country, we're only 200 years old, we've got no culture, and so we're trying to develop as much culture as we can, and this is the finest bit of culture we can develop.
Had a really good, clean, fun
Place
time.
to really run amok.
Yeah, place to run amok.
Really
Get feral, get feral.
What do you reckon, Guy?
Having a good time, mate.
She says having a good time.
All the drinks free here, so it makes my job a bit easier. Ah, beer. The only thing is, you've got to get it to the punters quick. Oh. Rum? You sure? You've had enough, mate.
Prepared to get drunk. You've got to wear the correct attire. You know, the bow tie for the blokes, you know, the white shirt.
White shirt, bow tie.
Jacket if you have one. For the ladies, you've got to wear something, you know, very nice skirt, nice dress, etc.
If it's really muddy, wet weather, you wear boots.
See a lot of people falling over each other, being very, very sleazy.
Well, we held the ball in Wyndham because there's not much else to do. Called the arsehole of the earth. My shit just passing through.
It's the morning after. There ain't no bourbon and there ain't no rum. There's just lots of ugly blokes around still drinking beer. Not these ones, of course, because they're really attractive.
This is the Australian Piss up?
We're good for fucking else.
This is known as the recovery period. All that means is everyone just drinks more and more in the morning to get over drinking loads in the evening. But for me, it's not a recovery. This is a recovery. Oh. These are called the Bungle Bungles. Just to give you an idea how massive the outback is, 15 years ago, the only people that knew about this place was drovers, a few pilots, and the Aboriginal people that lived here. And even now, there's only a sprinkling of tourists that come here. This has got to be the most appropriate place to end my journey. Here, in this vast, beautiful landscape of total isolation. Not that I ain't made any friends on this trip, of course I have. But this is what it's all about, the outback. Wild, open, unexplored, space.